Salute, Knicks Nation. The streets are buzzing. Tonight, welcome in to our live stream where we break down the latest news. As Tibbs has given an interview with NBA.com, right? And the main topic of tonight's show is these lineups. Let's go around. I've got some graphics to show, and we're going to highlight the Knicks' strengths with these death lineups as well, right? And we're going to dive into Tibbs's quotes as well. Get some Q&A going with the chat. Salute Replay Squad and salute Knicks Nation. The streets are buzzing. Let's go. Let's get into it. Great to be with you. CT, your host. Like and subscribe to the channel if you're new. Welcome in. It's great to have you with us. And training camp is so close, and I'm hyped, man. I can't wait for this season to start. And we're going to dive into the Knicks death lineups tonight. Like I said, I've got some graphics to go through. We're going to make this very interactive because what Tibbs has said, basically it matches up with the Knicks actions in terms of not swinging a big trade yet for a center. Obviously the signing of Mook Morris, right, was a welcome addition. I gave it a B+. And we'll talk about how he factors in terms of these small ball lineups and all of that, right, with Julius OG. We're going to get through Tibbs's quotes first and foremost before we do that. But I love the pickup for Mook Morris. Landry Shamet, obviously, both on Exhibit 9 unguaranteed deals, right? I feel like they're both going to make the roster. And I know that I'm not alone in that. I know a lot of people have been speculating over the last few days and who might get cut, because the Knicks basically would be at 16 spots if both of those two made it, and somebody has to get cut. So we'll talk about that as well, of course, and potential center moves. But right now, small ball is on the minds of a lot of Knicks Nation. Howard, AP in the chat, what's good? Glad you could join us as we dive into the quotes in the interview that Tom Thibodeau gave to NBA.com's Steve Ashburner, right? And this is going to then lead into these lineups that I'm going to dive into and show some graphics. But man, it was eye-opening, and obviously it was a really interesting, thought in terms of what's been said. And we'll go through it right now. But as the chat comes through, welcome in, guys. Like and subscribe to the channel. Appreciate you. What a season it's going to be, man. And Tibbs's quotes has really got me even more hype because, right, there's seemingly a more openness to play small from Tibbs now, matching what his personnel has. And, and he's probably obviously reviewed a lot of last season, guys, and looked at tape, looked at the film, and, and all the new additions, Mal Bridges, OG Anunoby for a full season, Randall returning. The strengths are the versatility, the depth of this roster. And so how can, Tibbs is looking at it obviously all off season, and he's looking at it like, how can I get the best out of this squad, right? Where is the NBA going right now? There's a lot of shooting, obviously a lot of 3-point shooting and floor spacing, right? Jalen Brunson took his shooting to the next level. I'll focus on that a lot tonight as well, as obviously the next main episode of the preseason deep dive will be the player preview of Jalen Brunson, right? But tonight will be how he fits into these small ball lineups, right? But straight off the bat, right? NBA.com, Steve Ashburner says, what do you hope to carry over from last season's playoff run, right? And he said, obviously we lost Isaiah, OG was huge, adding McCall, getting Julius back, all of those usual things, but I think we have versatility, says Tibbs, where we can play smaller at times because of OG's ability to guard up. Julius and Josh can guard up as well. So that was offered straight off. He's obviously been thinking about it a lot, and he was thinking about it a lot over the last few seasons, I'm sure, but the personnel that we had, I think, and the depth we had at the center position with the rim protection, I think was a big reason why Tibbs didn't go to it enough, right? But you bring in OG, who's a catch and shoot gun. He's a sniper, and obviously same with Mikal Bridges as well. That opens the door, for Tom Thibodeau to do this, and I'm really excited about it. Right? Um, Obviously, he's really intrigued. The defensive wings as well, matching up against Boston with Tatum and with Brown as well. Right? Yeah, to beat the best, you got to match up against them as well. We mentioned it a lot, guys. Al Horford, Chris Stapps is going to be out for quite a few months to start the season. So, Tibbs and the Knicks can match up really well and can get that advantage. I feel. Wayne Mars, what's up? Salute. Wayne says, do you think we'll see Ariel Hukporti in the preseason with Mitch not being available? Mars says Warriors won without size as well. Buzzer beater, salute. Says Shamet is not a power forward. Key to Bates-Diop is. And Maverick Max, salute in the building. Dirty Dancer, what's up, guys? Yeah, I think to answer Wayne's question, I think we will see Ariel Hukporti in some preseason minutes. And I'll do my deep dive into the preseason and what I want to get out of it. But the main thing is that game 1, game 2 against Charlotte, against Washington, I don't want to see any of the main guys at all, really. I want to see these guys battle for the spots. And yeah, like I said at the top of the show, guys, I do think Mook Morris and Landry Shamet will both make it. So basically, without further ado, right, most people have already seen what Tibbs has said and dived in and thought about it. And so have I, right? So I'm going to bring up these graphics, fam, right now. And this is the first of 4 graphics that I'm going to show. And then we're going to play around and get your thoughts with some of the Knicks options this season, right? Now, this is obviously speculation, but based off what Tibbs said and based off of what the Knicks have the chance to do, it's really exciting, right? And these are some of the best career spots on the floor for these guys, right? And this is the first lineup that I'm going to talk about now, guys. Salute. It's got, obviously, you got your Randall and your OG out there as well. But this is just to highlight Mook Morris and the strength that he provides. He's the newest Knick. And he's obviously not going to start, I don't feel. But in terms of Tibbs saying that, we could see Julius small ball at times, maybe 10, 15 minutes, that opens the door for many different options and variations, so obviously Mikal Bridges, left corner, he shot 42.1% on his career from that position specifically. So this graphic is where these guys have shot for their careers in that specific spot, right? Not just from 3, but from that specific spot on the floor. So corner legend, Mikal Bridges, man, absolutely lights out, 42%, way above league average of the 38.8%. And he shot, the numbers to back it up, he shot 192 shots from 456. So big sample size. Basically, he gets 1 corner shot per game at least from that position on the floor, and he's absolutely lights out as well. On the flip side, you go to the other corner, you've got OG Anunoby shooting 41% from the field, from 3 there in the corner, way above league average as well. On very decent sample, 162 attempts from 395. So what are your thoughts on that, guys? One of the best spots on the floor for Mook Morris, right? Great three-point shooter over his career, but he loves the left elbow. And he's shooting over 38% from there, way above league average as well. This is all courtesy of StatMuse as well, and the shot charts available on StatMuse. But Mook Morris, man, 13-year veteran, he shot 431 of 1,130 from that left elbow as well. Again, above league average. And then, of course, Jew and Jalen Brunson, right? Jalen Brunson's taken his three-point shooting games to the next level, almost 40% from that position, right, just towards the right elbow, 3, shot 221 over 558, right? And again, Julius, as a lefty, one of his preferred three-point shots is also from the right elbow, from almost 600 attempts, shooting basically at league average. So, you know, a lot of his attempts, a lot of them are pull-ups, catch and shoots as well. But that's one of Julius's best spots out there on the floor, guys. So this is the first of 4 lineups we'll look at from these graphics. But yeah, this just definitely gives you an indication of the Knicks can go this lineup. You know, I quite like it because Mook brings the toughness. You know, he could be the small ball 5. If you're worried about Julius or OG banging with the 5s, Mook Morris can come in. You know, he's not a traditional 5, so this is all about small ball tonight, guys, and what the Knicks could do with these small ball lineups. The second advantage with this lineup, obviously, is the rebounding. The Knicks won't lose too much rebounding with that extra power forward on the floor. Mook Morris, Julius, they rebound the basketball well. Same with OG Anunoby from the corner. Obviously, whoever shoots the 3, everyone else can crash the glass as well. But this is going to give you, you know, really optimal floor spacing, right, with this one. So, I mean, yeah, Mook Morris, what he's doing and shooting the 3 ball throughout his career is a great get. And Mars says Ian Begley also did mention that the Knicks do view Mook as a 4 and a 5, right? And then we've seen Tibbs come out with these quotes as well. So yeah, it is really interesting. In terms of Morris, yeah, this could be for 10, 15 minutes a night, like Howard said. Appreciate you. I don't think this is going to be an extended kind of look, but we don't know. You know, if it thrives, and obviously if the Knicks are running through teams, it's successful, maybe closing games out as well, which is really critical. We do know that they do like to hack a Mitch and put Mitch on the free throw line. So at least if you're looking at a lineup like this to close the game out, you're going to get optimal floor spacing for Brunson to just do whatever he wants. Also, with this specific lineup, you know, everyone's kind of one pass away, you know, one skip pass away. Let's say Brunson gets trapped. You've got Julius right next to him as well that he can kick the ball to. He can swing it then to the corner, or Brunson could choose to go left and kick it to Mook Morris, and then he can swing it to Mikal in the corner as well. So we know teams are going to try to take the ball out of Jalen Brunson's hands, and that's why this lineup's special as well, because everyone's one pass away from being a 3-point shooter, and a very capable one, as these numbers suggest, fam, as well, right? We really are coming in with death lineups, and I think this is one of quite a few too. So again, get your comments in, let me know your thoughts, guys. Salute. We'll look at the next lineup as well. The next lineup is obviously going to be the insertion of the New York Knicks' best 3-point shooter, Donte DiVincenzo, fam. So you'll see there's a bit of a realignment. Donte takes the right corner. That's his best spot for his career. Now, Donte's shooting 44.3%, man. A whopping, basically 5% above league average from that corner. 90 of 203 attempts, right? And then you keep Mikal Bridges in the other corner as well. Brunson and Julius remain in their spots. That's where their best shooting is, outside of the corners. Obviously, Brunson and Randall are both better in the corners for their careers, but you're going to put the better shooters in the corners, which is Bridges and DiVincenzo. So that's Randall and Brunson's second best shooting locations on the court. And then you've got OG Anunoby. He relocates to the left elbow from the 3, and he's shooting basically 37% from that position, above league average as well, 72 of 195 as well. So maybe Mook Morris, you know, is not in the lineup. This is the other death lineup. Julius or OG are guarding 5s, you know, mix and matching. You know, logical thought process is that DiVincenzo comes in. He's the Knicks' best 3-point shooter based off last season, and a huge piece off our bench. But I think there's a chance that he'll definitely get a lot of run with the starters, and maybe closing games out as well too. Julian's in the building. What's up, salute? Donald says Morris isn't playing over Dante or Josh. Yep. Definitely, I think this is the lineup more likely. But yeah, we're going through many different variations. Thanks for the comments. Warriors won without size. I mean, that's really telling. 3-point shooting is everything. And, I'm going to talk about Brunson quite a lot, because the number one thing about Brunson's game that's allowed him to ascend, I think, to being a superstar, right? If I'm just picking one thing, that's the biggest aspect of Brunson's rise. I think it's his 3-point shooting game. It's just opened everything up so much, just like it does with Steph Curry. Now, Steph's a better shooter, so I'm not comparing the two, but in the aspect of it just opened up his game a lot. And I think Brunson can then, get to the driving lanes because of his 3-point, shooting game and all of those things. But yeah, look, my initial thoughts when I see this, I'm like, Mikal Bridges, money from the corner. We know OG is as well. And Dante DiVincenzo is as well. And then if Julius and JB can just shoot league average, or and obviously they're all going to get better looks this year with the more shooters on the floor, then the more the merrier, fam. So also let me know your favorite lineup out of all of these, right? Next up, I'm going to switch it up and let's bring Precious. Let's bring Precious Achiuwa on the floor as well. All these 4 lineups we'll look at from these graphics are without Mitchell Robinson, and obviously, quote unquote, small ball. We're trying to get optimal floor spacing, but maybe look at some lineups that Tibbs would be more open to playing, because he does want some rim protection still, and he does want some rebounding. So for that reason, let's just take a look at how things look with Precious Achiuwa on the floor. Basically, you swap Dante DiVincenzo out. He's going to play his minutes off the bench. Precious, smaller sample size, but Precious Achiuwa has been working on his 3-point shot a lot. If you've noticed his social media, in his highlights, he's been, putting in a lot of work from the corners, right? And obviously that is the easiest 3-point shot. So Precious is shooting 36.7% from the right corner, right? Almost at league average, not too far off, but small sample, 22 of 60 shots. So he did hit a couple for the New York Knicks, in some big spots. So, this could be something along the lines of down the track if Precious's 3-point shot improves. He is a younger player, and guys can improve their 3-point shot, as their career goes along, right? But obviously, if you are playing with Precious at the 5, at least Julius and OG aren't banging with the 5s, and this could be, a little look that Tibbs might go to for, the rebounding and some rim protection still as well. So, yeah, do I think this is a really likely situation? Not as much, obviously, but it is a highlight of how versatile, once again, that we can be, right? It's not shabby having a potential 5-man that can shoot 37% from the corners. Again, and just to reiterate, these are where these guys are shooting from this position on the floor. So we'll do some graphic interaction after this, and we'll play around with it and move some guys around. But for optimal floor spacing, this is where it's at, fam. Now, let's switch it up and look at our last one, which is a guy we haven't looked at yet, and we know Tibbs loves to play him a lot. Josh Hart, step on up, right? He's going to be tempted to close some games out with Josh Hart for his hustle, his rebounding, all of that, right? What have we done? We've just swapped Precious Achiuwa out for Josh Hart. Josh Hart, for his career, believe it or not, is shooting 41.6% from the right side corner, fam. above league average, 92 of 221 attempts. Is right. Who said Josh Hart's not a three-point shooter? I mean, if you get him in the right situations, catch and shoot, off drive and kicks, again, he's knocked down some huge shots for the New York Knicks in his career as well. Once again, this is a small ball lineup, very switchable, very good defensively. Basically, with Hart in the lineup now, Julius and OG and Hart, and you've still got the rebounding that Tibbs loves. And then obviously, Brunson can distribute. He can penetrate the lanes. It should be open. I think Julius will hold the key. Obviously, he's the lowest 3-point shooter of these main guys in terms of the best position that he can shoot for the three from on the floor. But again, this comes down to the quality of looks. Are they going to be wide open catch and shoot looks? He's going to be shooting better. For his career, if he's getting better looks, obviously as well. So we're just going off the averages. But in terms of what Hart can do in the corners, man, he's solid in the right-sided corner. Julius Randle is very solid as well. So you could kind of swap them around if you want. But look, I really do feel like Julius will be more top of the key. He'll be in action, dribble handoffs with JB. He'll be setting pick and rolls, or he'll be towards the paint with his post-up touches as well for the rebounding purposes as well. So, yeah, these are the four sort of pre-mixed lineups that I've highlighted in terms of some small ball and the optimal floor spacing that the New York Knicks have. What are you guys' thoughts on it? Julian says Precious is my surprise breakout player. Yeah, I like that. Definitely, I feel like he's got more in the tank. Yep. Wayne also says Precious has been really doing a lot of reps from the corners as well. Yep. Definitely no lies, fam. I think that could catch some people by surprise. And I do think that they're going to look at getting Hart in the corners there. Mikal Bridges from that left corner, that's a given. I think so. Now you've seen what you've seen, guys. When you do watch the games, you're probably going to see that Tibbs is, obviously data driven. He's going to be looking at getting these guys in their best spots. And Mikal Bridges, he's great from the right corner. I think he's shooting 41%, but he's even better from the left corner. So hopefully he gets back to his best from the Phoenix days. But that left corner, man, you can't sag off Mikal Bridges one bit. And it's just going to leave guys wide open. And obviously Brunson and Randle are the lefties as well. So, they love that sort of right elbow side. And that's where they get their best shot attempts as well, their best looks. And look, OG is really good from front on and just to the left elbow as well for OG Anunoby. Huge year ahead for him. And I think, hopefully he can just stay healthy and we can mix and match all these lineups. Julian says it's also comical how many ways we can kill teams as well. Definitely. I'm excited about it after going through all of this. And obviously we wait to see who gets cut. On that topic, guys, I won't be surprised if Landry Shamet doesn't make it. I think Mook Morris is definitely the favorite to make it out of the non-guaranteed guys. Keita Bates-Diop has a guaranteed deal, but it's only $2 million. So could they trade that and just get back, an exception? They could just, try to get off of that salary just to clear a spot. Or it could be a 2-for-1. But it's important to note that Precious can't be traded right now. Neither can Kolek. The only guys that can be traded are guys that haven't signed a contract this offseason. So that's Mitch, that's Deuce, that's Keita Bates-Diop, that's Jericho Sims. So if you are looking at a 2-for-1 kind of trade, that is a situation where, I think that is more likely to happen. Right, but I do think that Mook's going to make the roster, fam. I really do. And I think it's out of Landry Shamet or probably Keita Bates-Diop too. Dirty Dancer says, be funny if we rehabbed his value after losing his bird rights. Yep. With Precious Achiuwa. That would be tough. The picks in terms of that, man, I think Mikal Bridges is going to have the best part of his careers with the New York Knicks. I think guys are going to thrive off of each other and the chemistry. So yeah, let's play around with some lineups now. Yorker, what's up? Says Skapensev, yes, did get signed by the Boston Celtics. Yeah, I mean, a lot of fans of Skapensev, but I don't think that he suits what the Knicks really look for. Yeah, he's got some skill set. That's why he's kind of been hanging around with Westchester and with Summer League. But I think with Skapensev, Tibbs if he does want a big, he wants some tough, rugged, rebounding, good rim protection as well. Skapensev doesn't do any of those things very well. Yes, he's better offensively, but I don't really think that's what the New York Knicks need. Fam, if you look at all these bucket getters, the Knicks don't really need a Skapensev hoisting little floaters and things like that. So I don't think the Knicks will miss out on that, too much, fam. But we've got the main graphic here, right? And basically you could substitute Precious for Mitchell Robinson. So let me get Mitch in. This could be a situation where we welcome Mitch in because we don't want Mitch feeling left out. Obviously, he's the starting center while he's healthy. So let's get Mitch up there at the top, right? And then, yeah, basically we'll assume on the bird's eye view that Precious is Mitchie or Precious is himself, but this speaks to the floor spacing because Mitch is going to come up. Basically, you can set the screen. As I mentioned before, Brunson is one pass away from a shooter in their pocket. Now, these are their pockets. These are the areas that they shoot the best percentage from three. You got Julius there, one pass away. Brunson can go left, right? He can go left. Mitch sets the pick. Brunson moves across. Basically, he's got a whole lane wide open, right, on the weak side. Now, Mikal Bridges' defender has to decide, I'm going to have to help. I'm going to have to come across, or one of OG's defenders is going to have to, assuming OG is the power forward or a big man's defending him, Mitch's man sags off, right? Brunson's either got the little midi pull up, he's got a floater, he can swing it to Bridges if the help has to come from Bridges as well. So, I mean, the spacing on the floor is going to be ridiculous with these guys. That's even with Mitch and Precious out there. With Randall, being a guy you got to respect from three. But if you did want to swap out Mitchie for, once again, Dante, Mook Morris, for example, let's just get Mook Morris in there. We sub Mitch out. And Mook. Mook comes in. Right? Now this is very, 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 very dangerous. One of the death lineups. Like I said, it could be Mook. It could be Dante DiVincenzo off the bench. But this is 5 guys that can shoot the 3 ball at a high level. So, you got to pick your poison with these guys. Johnny says, salute CT. Knicks are head and shoulders above most teams with these small ball lineups. Absolutely. AP says Kolek has to stay. Yep. Dirty Dancer says Skapensev was a bit slow. I agree with that one. They did get a good look at him in Westchester as well. Yeah, I mean, Knicks fans, I mean, we love our end of the bench guys. We love some G League guys as well. But really, we're trying to win a championship. Is Skapensev going to see minutes on a championship team? I mean, would he be a nice depth piece? Sure, but I'm not losing sleep over that, fam, because of this reason. Again, we want to maximize our strengths, right? So after this exercise, guys, we can all see that with Mitch and Precious, right, we obviously get a little bit of rebounding and rim protection, but offensively, maybe even to close games out, right, we're not going to get the best floor spacing possible, right, outside of these lineups. With these lineups now, I mean, and going back to Thibodeau's quotes about OG being able to guard up, Randall being able to guard up, it's a great team collective where they can gang rebound and they can swing the ball around like a hot potato. I mean, for years, isn't that what Knicks fans have been hoping for in terms of the shooting, ball movement as well, the ball flowing like a hot potato? I mean, technically, with some of these lineups, D'Antoni would thrive in coaching this kind of team as well with the ball movement. Now, yeah, like I said, Mook Morris. Let's look at those minutes that Tibbs highlighted: 10 to 15 minutes of potential small ball, right? You could include Precious, like I said, one of those lineups that I had, or you could include a Mook Morris in that. And I'll bring up the Precious one because that could catch people by surprise. That really can. So could the Josh Hart one as well. So this could be for 10, 15 minutes. You could do that one. You could throw in Dante DiVincenzo as well, right? I mean, guys are going to respect him even further, fam, in terms of what Dante can do. I mean, this probably should be my favorite one because in terms of just percentages, right? I mean, Dante and Mikal in the corner is going to pull so much gravity from the defense, but having a bigger guys like OG Anunoby and Julius at the top could be used for screen setting for Jalen Brunson as well, right? And look, they're going to bring their bigger defenders. So if those defenders want to switch or try to trap Jalen Brunson, right, he's got a better chance of getting around them and splitting the double as well, right? You obviously think Mikal Bridges and Dante DiVincenzo, right, they're going to have a smaller defender on them unless we throw the other team's schemes off completely, right? And if then they want to put smaller guys on Julius or OG, then you those guys move down low towards the paint, and we can do some inside out. We can play some inside out game with those guys as well. So, I mean, it's all about playing to everyone's strengths. I think this off season, and it's going to be fascinating seeing preseason how much he goes, to this lineup. But yeah, with Tibbs revealing this plan of potential 10, 15 minutes of small ball, there is some different options, it could be a shared role in terms of OG or Randall guarding fives. It depends who it is. So if you are worried that those guys might, get worn down, banging with those extra bigs, there's different options, I think. And Yorkel says Huck Porty will get more minutes than Jericho Sims. Yeah, I think those guys will get a chance in preseason. I really do. I think they'll be battling it out. I really do think that Huck Porty is not going to be shook. He's not going to be, he's going to be serviceable, I think. But we've got to see him against better competition. Now, I think he's ready. I think he's ready for the moment. He's played professional ball for the last 4 years down in the NBL and in Germany. He's physical. He's a real center, a bigger body. But then Jericho's coming back into his fourth year in the league, fourth or fifth year, and obviously played 4 years college as well. So, I mean, Jericho Sims is 26, right? So if he's ready to break out, if he's ready to peak, you would think it's right now. You're not getting any younger at 26, and so I think big year ahead for Jericho to see if he can step up, and fill some of that void left by Isaiah Hartenstein with that. But yeah, I mean, to me, it just kind of completed the off season by getting a player like a Mook Morris, who's extremely versatile. Um, and I do think that there is a situation where he's going to see some significant minutes in the small ball looks because of his 3-point shooting. Now, I did watch some highlights of him in Cleveland, and basically Mook Morris shot 40% from three last season, guys. So I mean, he is legit threatening. He's younger than Bogdanovic, by the way, just to do a little comparison, because I do think it's a good way of looking at it. Like, look at Mook Morris is exactly what Bogdanovic was, that spark coming in off the bench, respectable 3-point shooter, can put the ball on the floor when they close out. I think Marcus Morris is a younger version of Bogdanovic. They're both 35, but Bogdanovic turned 35 in February at the start of the year. Mook Morris just turned 35 this month as well. So he's just turned 35, Mook Morris as well. And he had a very solid sample from three last season. In 16 minutes, he averaged about 7 points, but shot the three ball, really well, right? Had a 25-point performance, had a game where he shot 5 threes. He had some big games for Cleveland against Boston in the playoffs as well. We know he's got the moxie, and he's all about it in terms of bringing that energy to the New York Knicks and bringing an offensive game, right? And no doubt Tibbs is right. OG can guard most fives, so I don't think that's really going to hinder any opportunities for Tibbs to go that right. It seems like he's already thought about it long and hard, and he's ready to do it. So yeah, we'll see how it plays out. Nobody's predicting Huck Porty's going to get minutes. I think one comment said he might get more minutes than Sims, but yeah, they're both going to be situational, I do feel, providing Mitch and Precious are both healthy. I think they're the 1 and 2. I think Sims is third string. With Sims and Huck Porty both third string. If there's an injury, they'll step in and all of that. But yeah, I'm excited for preseason because I think these guys should get an opportunity. The first game, guys, is against Charlotte. The second game is against Washington. Let me switch that up and bring up October, fam. The schedule in October is the New York Knicks. Yeah, up against Charlotte on October 6, Washington October 9. Right, the first 2 games of preseason, I don't want to see any of these main guys suit up. Like, what's the point? We don't need to see what Julius Randle can do. We don't really need to see what Mitch can do, even if he is healthy against these guys. It's meaningless. So against Charlotte and Washington, I will be throwing, all the camp guys out there. I'll be throwing, Deuce McBride, let him start. Let Landry Shaman and Mook Morris play a little bit, see what they got. Let Chuma Akiki play. Let the rookies, run. Let Kolek and Payne play a little bit. If McCullough's healthy, Keita Bates-Diop's here, let them play. And let Sims, Huck Porty, and Precious play. There's no point risking any injury in 2 meaningless, preseason games, I think, to start it up, fam. But sure, if you do want to run Brunson out there a little bit, get them warmed up for the real thing, then give them 8 minutes, give them 12 minutes, and then they can sit. But then the third game against Minnesota, I think, is where Tibbs is more likely to start playing the intended lineups for opening night, right? Because you've only got 3 more preseason games, really: Minnesota, Charlotte, and Washington again, before the real thing, and do have to get these guys going. So I think the Minnesota one is where he's definitely going to amp things up a lot more, and definitely a way of, like Old Head says, the preseason games feature centers in trade rumors. Howard says CT Mook Morris no more than 15 minutes a night player at this point. Yeah, I think I would agree. 15 to 20 minutes. You are on the money there, man. Definitely. Dirty says Mook has that irrational confidence that you want in an emergency player like Alec Burks. Yeah, definitely. I think, like I said, he's younger than Bogdanovic. So if you guys are saying Mook should only play 15 or 20, then if you were hoping that Bogdanovic played 20 or 25 last season, then it's kind of the same thing, isn't it? Last I checked, from what I've seen, Mook is more athletic, he's stronger physically, and he's younger than Bogdanovic and more durable, less injury prone. So whatever Bogdanovic role was last season, Mook can fill that role. The same thing. He's younger, more durable, and he's just as good 3-point shooting. Like I said, from the floor, and he can really make teams pay. This is a little lineup that I think you could go to defensively as well. Really, this could stretch some teams out, play a little faster as well. But yeah, you could swap Mook out for a number of people. You could swap him out for Hart. You could swap him out for DiVincenzo or Precious. Like I said, in all of the non-Mitch lineups as well. Now, my minutes prediction for Mitchie is about 26 to 28. I think that's best case scenario, really. I don't see a world where Mitch is playing 30 plus consecutively, because obviously for your one main rim protector, you want him as healthy as possible, for as long as possible. So I think, lineups with Mitchie, it's the best thing to keep him more healthy. And I think that's what made Tibbs really look at, different options, because let's face it, guys, we have one first choice center. After that, they're all backups, and that's not a knock on Precious or Sims, Huckporty. They're all the traditional other centers, they're all backups. So we have one main starting center. If he's not available, you have to, you then have to improvise. You have to improvise, and then how can I get the best out of other things? As I said, fam. Now, let's look at some fun bench lineups as well, because you could have, obviously, you bring in your Deuce McBride, right? Let's sub Brunson out. We bring in Deuce McBride. Maybe Randall goes off the floor. You've got your Mook Morris there, assuming he gets some bench minutes. Maybe one of OG or Mikal stays on the floor. Maybe OG for a little bit of extra size. Bang. You sub Dante DiVincenzo into that spot. And then you can insert your Hart or your Landry Shamitz, right, into that situation too. Or if, Mook's more situational, then it's Precious. Precious step on up. Precious is close to 37% from the right corners. OG's excellent from the left elbow and from straight on. Dante then spaces the left corner out. And then you've got Miles McBride out here as well. And then obviously Hart's definitely going to be playing a lot, but he might play some minutes with the starters as well. So that is very, very exciting to me, guys, the opportunity to mix things up. Now, I really like what Tibbs said, because I don't want us to be small ball, for longer than probably 15 to 10, 15, 20. But if we had, a better opportunity to do it, I think with better players at the stretch five situation, like let's say you had a Jokic, let's say you had a KP kind of situation, obviously that's the most ideal. But what the Knicks can do now is they'll give up maybe a little bit of rebounding, but you would think that with better 3-point shooting percentages, then you're not going to miss as much, right? So for all of the things that Isaiah brought, and I get it, defensively, we might lose some defensive rebounding, but if Mitch is healthy, I think we'll be fine. But offensively, how many tip backs and put backs and that did Isaiah get? But those were off misses. So you bring in Mikal Bridges, OG, for a full season now. If we, as a team, shoot better, theoretically, there's going to be less offensive rebounds. So that is a way to look at it, guys. Not get too carried away with the Knicks losing, some rim protection and some offensive rebounds. If we're clicking offensively with the ball movement, getting up and down, get quicker buckets, then the other team is going to be picking the ball up off, out of the hoop as well, and we're going to be able to get back quicker and set our defense. Shesvy says, I really hope Tibbs breaks out of his 8 to 9 man rotation limit. Yeah, I think it might be 9 to start, but I think on nights he'll be definitely more open to a 10 man, I feel, in terms of maybe the 10th man is situational of a Mook Morris. Maybe it is a key to Bates-Diop if he's still here. Maybe it's a guard and it's Shamet, Payne, or Kolek, and Deuce moves to the 2. But I think on different nights, I think he will be open to playing the 10th man. I think there'll be plenty of foul trouble, in terms of, backups for centers. Like I said, we have to protect Mitch, Randall, and OG. We don't want them banging with fives for too long. So I think he's going to have to be quite flexible. And, again, going back to the interview with Tibbs, for him to give that kind of intel right now, he's kind of just let the cat out of the bag. Guys, basically he's not shying away, or, he knows in a matter of weeks when training camp starts and media day, in the first game of preseason, he's going to get asked about the center position, right? He's going to get asked about that by your Ian Begleys, Steph Bondies, right? James L. Edwards, who's taking over from Fred Katz now as well. So congratulations to Fred Katz moving up into his career, and covering the league nationally now. But yeah, we bring in James L. Edwards from The Athletic. So the Knicks beat got a new beat writer. Obviously, I failed to talk about Woj. The big news today, Adrian Wojnarowski has, decided to retire. I'm not surprised, because it is a very demanding job, always on your phone, always staying, connected to the breaking news and all of that, man. It can take a lot out of you. So I think congrats to Woj. In terms of some of those moments, man, the big Woj bombs, I mean, you go back to all the breaking news, the firings of some of the head coaches, the Kristaps Porzingis trade coming out of nowhere, Donovan Mitchell, I think, to Cleveland was a huge Woj bomb for me. The OG Anunoby trade absolutely happened right at a time where no one was expecting it to happen with Toronto, with the lawsuit going on as well. So I mean, what a era! It really is the end of an era, with Woj moving on, and it'll be bittersweet, because like I said, there's always been synonymous with some of the not as fun times, but then obviously he's leaving at a time where the New York Knicks are buzzing, right now, and what a time. That's one of the reasons why James L. Edwards has talked about taking on this opportunity to cover the New York Knicks now. He's from Michigan, and he didn't really want to leave, and it was just too good of an opportunity to leave, obviously covering the Pistons and now covering the New York Knicks at the best possible time, right? With this squad we have, here we are trying to think about who's going to get cut, who out of 3 possible rotation players isn't going to make the squad. Now, if the Knicks had a chance to do it all over again, would they think differently about maybe guaranteeing his contract for this season, Pacome Daddier? Right, he is going to spend most of the season with Westchester, right? But they stand firm by that. They offered him a guaranteed spot from day one. McCullough, Toppin, and Huckporty don't make a difference because they're on two ways, so they're not part of the 15-man main roster, right? So I think the Knicks did really well with two of those two ways. I think those guys have a chance to give some situational minutes if there's some injuries. I think they are more ready to play than last season's two ways. But then, Tyler Kolek, not surprised they gave him guaranteed roster spot straight away. We obviously wait to see how he fits in the playing against the big league, against the big boys. But, he's got the flair, he's got the playmaking. We've seen it in Summer League now. I'm excited to see him. I think the future of Precious Achiuwa is really up to him. I think if he takes this spot, this role, and grabs it, like Dirty said in the chat, and the chat talking about him maybe, being a player that, has a huge resurgence, here after coming from the Raptors. I think it's really possible that Precious Achiuwa becomes a mainstay, just because if you look at who's ahead of him, there's a chance that Mitch won't be playing more than 30 minutes, and there's a chance that he might miss time, and it's all cool for Tibbs to say Randall and OG for 10-15 minutes, but who's going to eat the other minutes? Precious is definitely in the box seat to see a lot of opportunity this season, right? And he always has been a guy with some skills, right? As I bring up the lineups once again, guys, smash that like button if you've enjoyed the content so far, and we're going to bring up the Precious lineup in case you haven't seen it. Precious Achiuwa, to my surprise, from the corner was shooting 37%. From the right corner, league average is 38.7, but obviously he's only been shooting 60 attempts, 22 of 60 attempts, but still, I mean, he's got touch. That's not a bad shooting percentage for a big man, for a power forward. That's definitely something you can work with. Put in the more work, you get more shots, more open shots, then that could be a little stretch five. We know Mitch isn't going to develop a 3-point shot at this point. He could shoot all of them he wants in the gym. He's done it a lot, but in the game, right, he's just not gonna put them up. But I think with Precious's shot, it has looked more legit. Obviously it's not an optimal shot because there's so many better shooters on the floor. But if the ball gets kicked around and it gets kicked out, let's say Brunson drives and there's some traffic, there's a big tree in front of him, then he kicks it out. You can have Precious or Randall there on the right side. So I think Precious coming into this season is one of the most important players, really. And you look at it, and he could be a trade target. He could be the top trade candidate to go out. But he also could be a super important piece for us. Howard says, CT, what are you going to see against third string players? Do you mean who do I think out of the third string could be the most likely to see some minutes? But from what I see right now, I see a lot of G League. I see a lot of great practice players. I see a lot of development, a lot of growth. And I think, for a situation that we're in, we've got our big players to handle the success this season. I think it's up to these other younger players to just have a long-term view of their careers right now. Because, a lot of players came into the Knicks over the years and they got opportunities too early because the Knicks were a bad team, right? In terms of got minutes that they didn't really deserve. And Ron Baker, so many different players got opportunities because we weren't winning. Now these guys should be taking a back seat because we are set up to win more games. We're set up to contend. So for your Daddiers, Kevin McCullers, Tyler Koleks, Huck Porties, right? those guys could be real pieces for the future, for this ball club, but not right now. I think, they might be ready if their number's called to give us some spot minutes, but they're not going to factor in a lot. They're not going to factor in, and if they are, then it would mean other guys are going down. So that would be a bad thing as well, right? I don't see them outplaying who's ahead of them, but that's just okay for now. I think let them play in the G League a lot, let them develop, let them get opportunities. I think it'll help them a lot being in the locker room, of a winning team and a winning franchise. Yorkel wants the Knicks to go all in on Walker Kessler, give Danny Ainge whatever he wants. I think the Knicks would have, if they were really that high on Kessler, they would have done some business already. I think they're probably either waiting for the price to go down a little, or like I said, they're coming into other avenues like the small ball, and just seeing how things look. I think from the start, fam. In terms of giving up a lot, Deuce McBride, I wouldn't want to see him leave because I think the Knicks could regret it. I think, Deuce McBride has a lot of upside. See, a lot of people are looking at Deuce of what he showed last season and what he's shown in his career. But let's not fall victim to what happened in Dallas, which allowed us to steal Jalen Brunson from Dallas, right? I'm not saying Deuce McBride can become a Jalen Brunson one day, but I think Deuce McBride has more to give, right? He had a huge season, and I think there is more to give for Deuce McBride, right? I think he could be a borderline all-star player. I said that maybe half a year ago. I said that during last season, even, right? Because it's the little things you see, when a player gets more opportunities, they step up, their game elevates in a short period of time. The shooting is absolutely real now. If he can develop more parts of his game, he'll become an unbelievable two-way player on an insane contract. So I think you don't give up on that, right? Regardless of how much you want a center. I think you could really come to regret it with a Deuce McBride. I think he's only 24, 25, right? He's not even in his prime yet. So, I really want us to keep a hold of Deuce McBride. Yeah, trade Sims, trade Bates-Diop. I would even trade Tyler Kolek. I'm not going to lie, before Deuce McBride. Look, yeah, if trading Deuce guaranteed an NBA championship, then of course it's a no-brainer. But how can you predict the future? How can you guarantee, moving Deuce, gets you an NBA championship? And who's to say Deuce McBride doesn't help you win an NBA championship as well, right? Do you have the same level of confidence if Deuce is not playing that Tyler Kolek or Cam Payne can do the same things that Deuce did last season? I don't think they're ready for that role yet. I think there would be a drop-off. So I think, yeah, Deuce gives us a little bit of double up, but he does what he does well. Now, if Deuce had to go in a trade for an all-star big man, then I would look at it differently. You got to look at it differently that way. I think we still do need a center, but I think Walker Kessler, could be helpful, but don't know if he's a full difference maker. Dirty says Woj saw Shams break presidential news and decided to retire. Man, let the jokes flow. But I think after I saw the news straight away, I just thought, man, you don't see Woj behind the scenes. He might probably write a book and he'll probably do a documentary, but I'm telling you, man, what Woj has done over the years, I'm sure it hasn't been easy. I'm confident. Being woken up in the middle of the night, broken sleep, always on edge, waiting for the news, breaking news. Now that he's kind of been a made man, I'm sure it's got a little easier. But going from where he came from and all of that. Like, I'm sure he's ready to give it up, and just do what he loves now. Be the GM of his old team, and I'm sure he won't miss it too much. He'll miss his colleagues, but yeah, man, step on up. Who do you think's the next guy to take it? Do you think Shams gets poached by ESPN? There's rumors that guys like Jake Fisher could step in and really step up in his career. With that, we'll see. Wouldn't it be cool if it was maybe a former player who's moved into the media that would do something like that? Johnny says Julius' best spots are corner threes. How to play him in the corner when he's strong, smooth is one-on-one in the paint. When his strong move is one-on-one in the paint. Great question, Johnny. Yeah, Julius's best spots are in the corner, no doubt about it. But they're not as good as Mikal Bridges or OG Anunoby in the corner. So I think, you do want to focus on trying to get the best possible looks that you can from everybody. So yeah, you got Dante shooting 44% from the corner, and you got Mikal Bridges shooting 42% too. But yeah, there's definitely going to be movement on the court, ball movement, player movement. I've talked about it in Julius's player preview, that I think what gets lost in Julius's performances is when he doesn't have the ball. Right? Everyone wants to focus on what Julius does with the ball, his decision making. Does he pass it quick enough? His defense, all of those things. Not that many people talk about what Julius does when he doesn't have the ball. He's very stagnant. He doesn't move very much. Now, I know he's a power forward, but that's just something I think he can improve on. I think he can relocate. He can, see the ball, see his man, and just be a tougher guard by moving around. I think on offense, he sets really good screens. He does roll to the bucket well. But yeah, one of the things that he could do better, Johnny, is relocate to the corners. I think if he is playing this small ball look, that could be something that, Tibbs is really down for too. Now, it's key to mention that Tibbs did highlight OG. He said specifically in the beginning, he said OG can guard up. So I do think he identifies, out of the two, I think he identifies OG Anunoby as the ideal defender of the five, not Julius. Right? So that, to me, does make sense. Obviously, OG, they're both very strong men, but OG was able to defend Joel Embiid at a really high level in the playoffs too. And I think Julius is much better, obviously, defending fours. But, Julius can guard some fives because he's strong down low as well. You're not going to be able to post up Julius as well. But yeah, I am a little worried about the shoulder in terms of him banging with fives as well, ideally. And defensively, too. But, OG Anunoby just gives us that kind of versatility too, guys. He could swallow up, the ball and the defenders with those plays as well. One of the advantages to having OG guard bigger as well is that he can help off of them. He can be that last line of help defense. He can jump into the passing lane real quick as well. OG out in the front guarding the players on ball. You kind of lose his, spatial awareness of what's happening towards the closer to the bucket. And OG is a quick jumper as well, and he's quick off his first step. So he's a very good help defender as well. I think Bridges is ideal guarding the player with the basketball, right? Bridges can guard down better. OG can guard up better as well. So that is the strength of those guys. And then, let's look at Hart as well. Similar thing. I think Hart can guard some fours if Randall is guarding a five or OG's guarding a five. But Hart, a lot of defenders have a tendency to leave him open. If we can get Hart in the corners a lot more, look at that. 41.6%. above league average, and he shot over 220 attempts. So he's almost swished 100 from the right corner in his career. That's some pretty significant sample, right? He does tend to get at least 1 or 2 open threes a game because he's the weakest shooter usually on the floor, and they're gonna tempt. Right, out of all the guys, you're not going to be able to cheat off Bridges, OG, Brunson, or Randall. Usually, if you are going to double Brunson, it's usually going to be maybe Hart's defender come off, and do that. Try to get the ball out of Brunson's hands, but then he swings it to the right. Julius on the elbow, and then you've got Josh Hart, one pass away from Julius with the skip pass, as well. So that is something that the New York Knicks can focus on. Hart will get plenty of looks, man. He'll get loads of those looks while he's on the floor as well. And the good thing about Hart being in the corners there is he can kind of crash the glass from those positions really well. Hart is really good at crashing the glass from there. So that is really important too. So, all in all, man, I think the off-season's just been amazing. I've given it an A for off-season grade. Could have been an A+ if, obviously, we didn't lose Isaiah or, a huge upgrade was made in that position. But nonetheless, man, we are very versatile. We can play all these different lineups. I think the 2 recent signings of Mook Morris and Landry Shamet just give me a lot more peace of mind in terms of injury backup depth, and the different lineups we can go with. What is your grade overall, fam, for the off season? I'd love to know it. I do think Mook Morris and Shamet both make the roster early on, and I do think something's going to happen in terms of one of the tradable players or key to Bates-Diop might just get moved on or cut, because I just don't see a world where Shamet and Mook Morris at their stage of their careers, they choose New York to move here, and go through all the process of training camp and all that at the risk of getting cut. I just don't see that those guys doing that at that stage of their careers. I think it sounds pretty locked, barring injuries, of course. These Exhibit 9s do protect the New York Knicks from an injury. Then you can cut them. Exhibit 9, obviously, and then that does open the door for someone else. But if they just do what they need to do in camp, I think those 2 will be a New York Knick come opening night. Fam, who do you think would be a guy to make way? Shesvy says I grade it an A as well. Absolutely. Johnny says Deuce over Shamet in every way. Yorkel wants Huck Porty starting at centre over Randall. That extra size. Well, it sounds like Tibbs is open to it, man. I was a little surprised to see this news come out, but I love the transparency. I love that. Like I said, I think Tibbs, people are surprised like me, but then when you look at it, training camp's about to start. He's going to have to reveal his cards anyway, and it probably was going to be the number one question that Tibbs was going to get asked, in a couple of weeks. So he's just like, whatever, I'll let the cat out of the bag. Yes, we will be playing a little bit of small ball, right? And like I said, sometimes your hand is forced. Mitch might not be healthy, so he might have just been forced to look at tape and look at his roster and just look at ways that he can play differently, I mean, all the knocks on Tibbs over the years, he has to be looking at all the guys he's got and be like, okay, how can I optimize my offense then? Okay, my defense might take a little hit with rebounding, but how can I optimize my offense? I've got these extra weapons. Now, I've got to use them. Like I said, I like the one with Precious because that could be something we haven't seen from last year. If the 3-point shooting from the corners becomes, somewhat consistent, then I think that is a lineup where, we're okay defensively as well, with Precious guarding some 5s, and then obviously being able to space the floor a little, too. And then the Mook Morris one. It's going to be interesting to see. I compare that to the Bogdanovic role. Once again, he can be that sniper off the bench. Let's say Mitch is down and pressure starts, and then maybe the small ball lineup is a guy to come off our bench as well. I'm weary like Tibbs. I don't want Randall and OG being the fives for more than 15 minutes. We'll see what opponents do. You know, obviously if they do try to post us up and be more physical, then that could be a worry. And that's why I think the Mook Morris signing was important. You know, he's just another body that's, you know, physical. He's a rugged guy, and he can mix it up. But yeah, I've speaked about Hukporti a lot. I think I've seen him and what he's capable of doing. I just think we need to see him in preseason more. He is on a two-way. He's 22, right? He's played pro ball. I think he's more experienced than your collegiate rookie coming in. It's just a matter of adjusting to the speed of the NBA. That'll determine how ready the Knicks see him as and that. But I do know that the Knicks really like him. You know, they did do off some of those trades at the end of the draft to get that extra draft pick so that they could take Ariel Hukporti, because they know he can rebound, he can protect the hoop. He just might be a little raw for this stage. You know, it's a big stage right now. We're trying to compete for a championship. But Precious stepped in. He played really, really well. So that is where it's at, fam. We'll get ready to wrap this one up. I'll be back in a few days to talk about Jalen Brunson and do his season preview, fam. We talk about what JB can do, right, coming in now to his third year as a New York Knick. Jalen Brunson's second season was unbelievable. The third season going to be even better, in my opinion, right? With these weapons, Brunson, I think, will have less pressure to score the basketball. He'll be a more willing distributor, a facilitator as well. And he'll continue to be that leader in the locker room and on the court as well. The extension of Tibbs, right? We're stacking up these veterans and we're trying to take down Boston. And we're in a great position, man. Vegas has us at 53.5. Well, I take the over on that, right? I went 55 wins. Was my initial, after the free agency and all that, was the initial wins that I settled on. 55, I think, right now. You know, the center position made me scale it back a little, but I could see if things click, obviously late 50s, 60 plus could be that real possibility, fam. But great conversation tonight. Appreciate everyone in the chat as well. Replay squad, salute, and smash that like button and subscribe to the channel if you're new. Great to have you with us. And yeah, like I said, next show will be all about Jalen Brunson's preview for the season. And I hope you enjoyed looking at some of these different death lineups for the New York Knicks and where the New York Knicks can get the edge, right? Spacing the floor out, right? And keeping these opponents scrambling, right? You want to match up against Boston, and I think the Knicks are in a great position to do that, man. Orange and blue skies, the limit. Salute, guys. Peace.